I'm honestly a little bit confused why everyone seems to be hating this movie. Megan 2.0 is an obvious detour from the original in the sense that it fully jumps the shark from being a somewhat goofy PG 13 horror movie to the sequel being a full on Mission Impossible meets Terminator action comedy sequel. And while this massive change in genre might be shocking to some, I thought it was a great decision. I was pretty underwhelmed by the first Megan movie, which is funny because I know the first one had rave reviews. It's actually sitting at a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I guess I'm just clearly ass backwards on these movies right now, but the first one was just kind of bland to me. It was marketed as a horror comedy, and I didn't think it fully checked either box. I didn't think it was that funny or scary, in all honesty. Obviously, both comedy and horror are subjective, and I think the biggest thing that's influencing my opinion between these two movies is that the first Megan to me had a lot of jokes that ranged from either not really being that funny or maybe at the most it was something that would make me blow air out of my nose a little harder than usual. You know what I mean? Like nothing actually funny enough to make me laugh, but just kind of somewhat amusing. Whereas I thought the second movie had a way higher hit rate on the jokes. Like most of them were either outright funny or at the very least amusing to me, right? And so the original film, in my opinion, it just wasn't that funny. And it didn't have any horror or gore to sell me on the rest of it. I know a lot of people complained about being a PG-13 movie to begin with, and I definitely felt it. Overall, I was just indifferent to the first Megan movie. Like it's fine. It's not horrible, but it was just okay. The second one, in my opinion, dialed everything up to 100 and got as goofy and as crazy as possible. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I certainly understand why people might not like it, but to me, this is a generic, crowd pleasing popcorn movie that you can just shut your brain off and have a good time with. Go watch this with a friend. Go into it understanding that you're watching a movie that's not taking itself seriously whatsoever, right? And just have a good time. I've seen people complain that it's not scary or that it's too stupid. And like, I have to be honest with you. Well, you are well within your right to have that opinion. It's also like, don't go to McDonald's and ask for a steak, right? What about the marketing with this movie would have made you think that it was a spooky, scary horror film or something that is trying to elevate itself above the genre? Like, I don't know what to tell you if that's what you thought you were getting. I think the biggest thing with being a movie watcher that you can do is learning how to adjust your expectations and engage with the movies that you think you'll enjoy. Because this movie, if you saw any of the marketing or the trailers, maybe you just missed it and you were surprised, and I would understand that. But the marketing for this movie made it very clear that this was going to be an unserious film. And so if you walked into it expecting something else, you kind of only have yourself to blame, right? And don't get me wrong, I love the highbrow, elevated horror stuff as well. I love movies that take themselves super seriously and stir some emotions in me. But I also like going to McDonald's and getting a 10-piece every once in a while. So Megan 2.0 delivered that for me. Megan, the character, is so much more enjoyable in this movie as a more self-aware version of herself. I thought the miscommunication in the first film where she's just trying to protect Katie, but it's like a bad programming and all this, it got really repetitive in all of her interactions. And to me, it got annoying by the end of it. It was very predictable, I thought, and Megan's presence in the first film as this evil but sassy AI, they didn't really nail those two tones for me. But in the second one, it worked perfectly. I thought her lines and quips were all so much better than the first movie. I also thought how the characters interacted with her was a lot better. Like the first movie was full of these side characters who every interaction was just like, whoa, you're just surprised to see a robot girl talking to you. And all the interactions felt like that same joke over and over again. But in this movie, since everyone already knows who Megan is, everyone's already on board with how ridiculous and weird the situation is, that the campiness to it led to a much more entertaining and fun movie, in my opinion. One great example of what I'm saying here is the scene where Megan is singing to Gemma. This is obviously a callback to the first movie where she was singing Titanium, but this time it's done in a way that I personally thought was way more funny because Gemma is clearly tired of this shit as soon as it starts. We've been here before, we've seen it, we don't want the same joke. But then you get this passive aggressive behavior and the way Megan just kind of forces Gemma to stay in the chair and listen to her go all the way through it again. It got me to laugh in a way that the first movie just didn't. And so jumping the shark in this case to me made the comedy work so much better. I thought trading the PG-13 horror for some PG-13 action was significantly better for the movie. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing special here as far as the action sequences, but they were a lot more exciting and engaging in a way that the horror elements from the last movie weren't, in my opinion. It's hard to sell the horror in a PG-13 movie. You can certainly do it. There are examples of it. I think Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is probably the best example of being a PG-13 horror movie that's still pretty terrifying. But in the same way, you can definitely sell action in a PG-13 movie without really running into those same obstacles. And so the genre change was a huge upgrade for this franchise, I thought, especially because, again, like, listen, people, that first movie wasn't scary to begin with, right? I just, not to harp on this too much, but I don't understand why people were disappointed that this is straying away from horror. The first one wasn't that scary. And again, like, I understand horror and comedy, it's all subjective, but the first Megan movie was hardly a horror movie to start with. So I don't really understand where the outrage is coming from. But I digress on that point. I'll let you guys live if that's your opinion. To me, Megan 2.0 is an example of a 5-star, 2-star film. And what I mean by that is, objectively, this movie is not trying to be that much. It's not trying to be this brilliant piece of art. No one would pretend that this is Interstellar or whatever your favorite movie is. This is a 2-star movie with a 2-star premise that executes that premise in a 5-star way. And so, for example, a recent movie that comes to mind, something like Clown in a Cornfield, I would say is another great 2-star caliber movie that executes its premise in a way that gives you a 5-star experience, right? The recent Godzilla movies could be in that category as well. I didn't enjoy them as much, but that's kind of what I'm trying to say, right? I think you get the point that I'm making. Megan 2.0 is not a great film by any means, but if you're down to, get a little whimsical, it's a great time. If you're down for that, if you're with the whimsy, then you're going to like this movie. If you're not, then this one just isn't for you, and I get it. I will say the biggest criticism that I have of this movie is that the pacing is a little bit off. I think the runtime comes in at exactly 2 hours, and it started to drag at certain points. If you were to cut this to maybe an hour and a half, that would make a big difference, because there were points, again, especially the first act and a little bit in the third act, where I thought the movie was dragging. The middle act, the second act, was actually well paced, but the setup and then the eventual climax of the movie is probably about 10 to 20 minutes too long on both sides. If you were to cut a little bit from the first act and a little bit from the third act, I think you would have had a tight runtime that would have felt a lot better. So if you trimmed it down, in all honesty, I know I said this is a 5-star, 2-star film. It's more of a 4-star, 2-star film, to be completely honest with you, because of the pacing. But if you look, like, some of the things that I liked about this movie is, obviously, I mentioned the comedy. I like the genre change. I thought the editing in this movie was actually pretty good. It's very fast paced. It stops the movie, even with the pacing issues, it stops the movie from grinding to a halt at any point. The editing was really well done. I also thought the performances were all pretty solid, right? Again, you're not getting anything crazy here, but it's just a fun movie. I understand why people aren't over the moon about it. I'm not going to have this one anywhere in my top movies of the year list or anything like that, but I am surprised by how many people seem to hate this movie. And I think overall, the modern audiences, it feels like we're getting stuck into this cycle where everyone feels like you either need to love or hate every movie when you're online talking about it. And I don't know, sometimes movies, they can just be whimsical and goofy and okay as a product, right? And that's fine enough. And so I want to know, did you see Megan 2.0 in theaters yet? Let me know what you thought in the comments if you did. I really want to know if I'm not the only one who truly enjoyed this movie. If you enjoyed my video, then please hit the subscribe button and drop a like. Really appreciate all the support that this channel has been getting recently, and I'll have more videos coming soon.